Western Australia will remove nearly every coronavirus restriction within a month, but plans to open the interstate border in August have been scrapped because of the escalating situation in Victoria. Restrictions will be eased significantly within WA from this Saturday, with a further relaxation scheduled for mid-July.
Life is about to be very close to back to normal in Western Australia.
We will continue to be the envy not only of the nation, but of the world.
WA will move to stage 4 of its easing of restrictions on Saturday, and it'll mean some big changes, with mass gatherings and major events permitted for the first time in 3 months, giving West Australians enormous freedom compared to the rest of the country.
It's our strong border controls that continue to give each and every West Australian the confidence to get back to normal.
As part of stage 4, major sporting venues will be allowed 50% of their usual capacity. That'll allow crowds of 30,000 people at Perth Stadium, or around 7,000 at Perth Arena. Limits on hospitality venues are also being slashed. From Saturday, the 100-300 rule is gone. From then, the only capacity limit will be the 2 square metre rule, and pub patrons will no longer be forced to sit down with their drink, meaning nightclubs can reopen their doors and bars can get much closer to normal.
I think Saturday night is going to be one of the biggest nights we've had, but I think July 18 is going to be just amazing.
July 18 is the date that WA's rules are set to ease again, removing all coronavirus restrictions, except for limits on travel to remote communities and the interstate border closure. That means from mid-July, capacity crowds of 60,000 people are set to return to Perth Stadium, an exciting prospect for nearby businesses.
That would be the icing on the cake for us. Now we're, just absolutely ecstatic to have, pretty much our normal business back.
In other changes coming in on Saturday, gyms will no longer be required to be staffed at all times while opened.
We had to double our staffed hours to handle that, so capacity to go back 24/7. Fantastic.
And Crown Casino's gaming floor is also set to reopen, but with every second machine turned off. Jacob Kagi, ABC News.
The West isolated from the rest of Australia indefinitely.
We were looking towards an August date for lifting the border arrangements. Clearly, the Victorian situation has put a stop to that.
Meaning the prospect of reopening WA's border to non-essential travel remains a distant one. It's a crushing blow for the businesses which rely on interstate visitors, like those in the Kimberley, where it would normally be peak tourist season.
We've all been trading at a loss. It's come at the worst possible time for us up here, and now we're looking at, another 12 months of not making a profit.
The Premier is continuing to urge West Australians to holiday locally to make up some of the shortfall.
Support local tourism businesses. Please do it. Think of it as your civic duty to Western Australia.
That's already happening in some regions like the southwest.
People are flocking down here now. It's great.
Wine tour operator Geoff Hart says that usually more than half of his customers are from interstate or overseas, but he's now busier than usual at this time of year and wants the border to stay closed for now.
We're just getting back on our feet again, so the last thing we need is another spike in cases.
And given crowds in their thousands will soon be able to return to WA sporting events, there's a growing push for the proposed AFL hub in Perth. But the positive COVID test by Essendon's Connor McKenna will have a significant bearing on whether teams from Victoria will be allowed in.
We want to know what are the consequences of that alleged breach. Has it infected other players, other officials, other members of the community?
The Police Commissioner says a decision on a hub is likely within 48 hours. If it goes ahead, any visiting teams would have to quarantine at a hotel for 2 weeks, but could play each other during that time.
They'd have to compete within a 14-day period, but that must be within very strict protocols.
West Coast and Fremantle are still waiting for certainty on when they'll return from the Gold Coast hub and what their quarantine arrangements will be when they get home. Frances Bell, ABC News.